The news I'm about to share with you has had the biggest impact on gold and silver to date so far this year. I'm going to explain why in this video as we explore. That's right, gold and silver prices are up. In fact, we can celebrate once again as silver has now reached back above $38 an ounce. But in reality, it wasn't that big of a move. It was a substantial and notable move. And gold has just breached $3,400 an ounce, about $100 away from its all-time high, even when adjusted for inflation. But that's not the big news, folks. It's the fact that gold and silver moves on account of the news I'm about to share with you. So before we get too far into that, I want to remind you of channel sponsor Summit Metals. They are up and coming, and they are continuing to make their name known for excellent customer service and fast shipping and an expanded line of products. So check them out. Elevate your wealth over at summitmetals.com. Gold and silver are higher and have hit 2-week highs in trading here today. News that China's central bank continues to add to its gold reserves and a more bullish near-term technical postures in both gold and silver recently are boosting both metals today. But it's not just what's going on in China, although that is important, but other central banks are adding to their reserves as well. And it is pretty amazing. The World Gold Council just came out with some of their data. And everybody, all the big movers, or some of the biggest movers we're seeing here outside of China, obviously, are Ghana adding a ton, Qatar a ton, the Philippines a ton, Uzbekistan 9 tons, Kyrgyzstan 1 ton, Kazakhstan 7 tons, the Czech Republic a couple of tons, as well as Turkey. So they're adding a lot. And the only bank that has sold is Singapore. They sold off 6 tons. But when we see the year-to-date changes, Poland is the big winner here. It is pretty amazing. The National Bank of Poland has reported the largest net buyer in 2025 so far at 67 tons, followed by Azerbaijan at 35 tons. And that's not only affecting gold's price, but it's also affecting silver. In fact, silver is outperforming gold right now. In fact, when we look at the gold to silver ratio, it is now narrowed a little bit more, as we see down to, in fact, actually the numbers are not reporting right now for some reason. They're stuck. But my guess is it's probably around 87, 88 to 1. But it is pretty amazing to see what's happening here in the markets. The People's Bank of China increased its gold reserves in July, marking 9 straight months of purchases that are helping it diversify its holdings away from U.S. dollars. That's right, folks. Even in the age of Trump, de-dollarization continues. People are not liking what's going on with the weaponization of the dollar, and especially the nations that don't align with us geopolitically. Especially the BRICS nations, and China is a big deal, folks. In fact, China is probably acquiring more gold in other aspects and ways than what they're reporting here. Bloomberg reported that gold held by the central bank increased by 60,000 troy ounces to 73.96 million troy ounces last month. This brings the total purchases since last November to around 36 tons. Buying by central banks, including China, is among the key drivers of the 30% rally that gold has seen this year. While the central bank buying spree is expected to continue, the pace has slowed amid elevated gold prices. And that's understandable. So that is what is driving it. Of course, the gold prices are probably going to continue to climb. I think we'll probably likely revisit the $3,500 range before the end of the year, maybe even more. Someone predicted $4,000 gold by the end of the year. Silver, I do believe we could probably recapture $39 and maybe even head up to $41 by the end of the year. That's my year-end prediction, my revised year-end prediction. It's nice to see silver make a little bit of a comeback here, and so we'll keep an eye on it. But let's get into some of these technical aspects too, because that is part of the reason why we're seeing some of the increases today. But before we get into that, well, we must also see these drivers that are checking out and see how that's affecting the dollar index. This news really is kind of pushing the dollar down slightly. It's only down 0.01, and even though gold and silver are up much more than that. So the dollar's hanging on. But remember, Trump is okay with a weaker dollar. So he's okay with implementing tariffs and other things that may weaken the dollar a bit. Now, the key outside markets today see the U.S. dollar a little bit firmer. Like I said, it's down just 0.1%. And NYMEX crude oil futures are slightly lower. In fact, what are they trading at? It's trading at slightly down to $63.73 a barrel right now. The yield on the bench year 10-year U.S. Treasury note is now sitting at 4.233%. Technically, December gold futures bulls have the firm overall near-term technical advantage here. Bulls' next upside price objective is to produce a close above solid resistance at the July high of $3,509. I know that number's thrown about there, but I think we got the $34.91. That's what I remember saying on that day. There may have been a blip there, but I remember that day when it hit, and I just don't see it going above $3,500 an ounce. But anyways, the bear's next near-term downside price objective is pushing futures prices below solid resistance technical support at the July low of $3,319.20. So likely, probably that's the futures price at $35.09 to the upside that we're seeing there is a notable reaction and seeing as what to look for on the upside. First resistance is seen at today's high of $3,470 and then at $3,500. That's probably in the futures market too, because the high in the spot price of $3,401, $3,401.80. And there's an arbitrage opportunity and trades going on with the Chinese market as well too. Prices are higher there, still are higher there. And so that's what's happening. Now the support is seen at the overnight low of 34.30 and then at 3,400 in the futures market. So silver, September silver futures bulls have the overall near-term technical advantage and have regained momentum. Silver bulls' next upside price objective is closing prices above solid technical resistance at the July high of $39.91 futures price, not spot price. The next downside price objective is the bears' closing prices below solid support at the July low of $36.28. First resistance is seen at the overnight high of $38.76 and then at $39. The support is now seen at $38 and then at $37.50. So there's where that is according to Jim Wyckoff here as we see what's going on. But why is this the most important aspect and important move in gold and silver, even though the prices have not moved that much? Well, it's because of the solidification of precious metals as a hedge, as a way to protect against a dollar that is losing value every single day. And the geopolitical situations we still find ourselves in spite of, yes, that's right, in spite of potential progress in ending the war in Ukraine. There are some signals that Russia is agreeing, at least preliminarily, to what to what the officials there, Steve Witkoff, I believe is his name, that are negotiating what's going on there to bring an end to the war. If they can bring that down and make and open up economic opportunities for Russia with the United States, that's going to be a game changer. That's going to be good news, and likely that means that gold prices may come down if we start to see some of these other nations sell off because the dollar is not being weaponized anymore. We'll see how that plays out. As we got a ways to go before we get our hopes up too high there. But nonetheless, very little selling off of gold. A lot more nations buying gold. In fact, I was actually surprised to see Singapore sell off as much gold as they had, to be honest. But nonetheless, silver is reacting as a part of that. And remember, I think silver has a lot going for it. Has a dual nature, but there's a lot going for it on the industrial demand side as well as the commodity money demand side, the monetary metal demand side, as a hedge against economic instability. This is what silver is about, and that's what it's for. But it's got so many uses. It's an amazing metal in that regard. So this is why I'm bullish on the metal overall for this year. But you know what? That's just my feeling on it. It does not necessarily mean that's going to be the case. And my definition of bullish is probably very different than others out there that think it's going to just shoot up to $50 an ounce in a couple of days or months. No, I'm not saying that at all. It's going to be a long, tough haul for silver. But nonetheless, we've seen a surprising uptick or a move in silver's price this year, far outperforming inflation, right in kind of in line with gold, maybe a little bit less now, but maybe today, maybe a little bit more than gold this year. So it's been an impressive run in 2025 and even at the end of 2024. So with that being said, hold on to our hats. Let's see what happens with the silver market, and let's keep on keeping on with gold. If you are a silver stacker, I'd encourage you to diversify a little bit into gold. And even though the price is expensive, you can get in. My friends at Summit Metals have very good prices for some of the fractional gold out there if you shop around on their website. So check them out. And again, I want to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for being here and taking the time to watch this video, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.